The only thing we have to fear is beer itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, as always joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our from entertainer,
Wayne Baker.
Now, today we have made the trek out towards Hershey, Pennsylvania to be at the wonderful Tröegs Brewery. I'm very excited to be here. Woo-hoo. And we have with us two guys at the table who were very kind to donate their time to us. We have Mr.
Hi, I'm Jeff Herb. I'm the Media and Communications Coordinator here at Tröegs Brewery.
And
I'm Mike Ross. I give tours, done a bunch of stuff here at the brewery, bottling line, bartender.
very cool. And you actually gave us a tour before we started recording, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was really cool. And
That's
there's
a
a
great
lot of cool stuff that we got to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an impressive
Yeah,
facility.
it
Holy
really is.
crap, they make a lot of beer.
Yeah. Giant equipment. To say giant, that's a huge understatement.
Yeah,
but
enormous.
Huge equipment. And what, 800 barrels? Is that?
The new tanks outside are 800-barrel tanks. Tons of new toys. John likes to buy toys. He likes to build toys. We saw a little bit of each today.
Bags of grain that can hold 300 tons, or 30 tons.
30 tons.
300
Slightly
Gs.
less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little less than 300
Which
tons,
is what,
but
60,000 pounds?
It's a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And he had 3 of those hanging up there.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of hops. And we got to see the hops.
Yeah,
Or
with
malt,
the hopper.
a lot
That
of-
was a lot of malt.
a
But
lot
we
of
did get to see the hops
Oh.
as well.
Oh, I thought... Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
We're
But
just messing everything up now.
Did Mike show you the photos that we just got in?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
They are beautiful.
Can't
Yeah.
wait till they get hooked up.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
I posted a picture. Well, I posted several pictures on Facebook, but yeah, I did make sure to snap one of those. And they're getting ready to bottle out there too, so
Yeah.
we'll have a background show.
It might get a little noisy in here.
Wouldn't be
That's
the first
all right.
time.
Yeah.
We were in a fermentation room somewhere before, and that was...
I was just talking about me, not the bottling.
okay. But that works too. Awesome.
Even better.
Love it.
Well, I know we've got some samples that are poured waiting for us over there, and I can't wait to get to them. So let's get the show on the road. All right. So after some digging on the interwebs, I found a few stories that were worthwhile sharing. And there's a list. I have a list, the return of the list, and I'll give you one guess where it's from.
Thrillist.
Of course.
.com.
.com, indeed.
Big fans of Tröegs, by the way.
Are they really?
Huge.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's a good blog. I love it. But there's a few stories that I saw. One made the rounds on other websites, but apparently beer is good for your brain, after all. There's a researcher at Oregon State University who points to a compound found in hops, which, of course, is one of the main ingredients in beer. It improved the cognitive function in a group of mice. And the mice were given large doses of, I'm going to say this wrong, xanthomumol. Does that sound about right?
Sounds good to me.
That sounds scientific.
Yeah.
Science.
Big word that starts with an X. I can't play the clip because I'm on my iPad.
Wah, wah.
Yeah, no.
I'll do
Way
the
to
clips.
multitask, Apple.
Bite me, Android.
Ba-dum-bum.
They were given large doses of, I'm just going to call it X. No, let's not call it X. Of that.
The substance.
Yes.
MDMA.
It was a flavonoid, which is found in hops, and flavonoids are compounds found in plants that often give them their color. Then the mice were run through a special maze to determine whether they showed signs of improved spatial memory and cognitive flexibility. Xanthomumol, can speed the metabolism, reduce fatty acids in the liver, and, at least with young mice, appear to improve their cognitive flexibility or higher-level thinking, reported Daniel Zamzow with the University of Wisconsin. Unfortunately, it did not reduce... another scientific word. Palmitoylation, in older mice, or improve their... And you know what? I read this article before and figured I'd learn the word by now, but I didn't.
That sounds dirty.
Yeah,
it does.
It did not reduce that in older mice or improve their learning or cognitive performance, at least in the amounts of the compound we gave them.
It did, however, have an appreciable effect on erectile dysfunction.
Yes. If you have an erection for more than 4 hours, call a doctor. Lead study author Kathy Magnuson, a professor in the OSU Department of Biomedical Sciences, concludes the results suggest that the diets of children can have an impact throughout their lives. This flavonoid and others may have a function in them, or in the optimal ability to form memories, she suggested. Part of what this study seems to be suggesting is that it's important to begin early in life to gain the full benefits of healthy nutrition, which, when I read the article, I thought that meant get kids to drink beer, and I got really worried for a
It's a
second.
little more involved than
You
that.
would think that.
Yeah. But then she goes on to say that a human would have to drink 2,000 liters of beer a day to reach the xanthocumol levels we used in the research. So
Challenge
those,
accepted.
those mice got pretty messed up.
Yeah. You know, talking about beer and its effect on cognitive abilities, one of the coolest things I heard, I think it was the Oatmeal, the webcomic site. It was a thing about beer and coffee, and it said beer is great for coming up with great ideas, and coffee is for execuing them.
Yeah, that's
Which I
about
think
right.
is a pretty good way to
yeah,
You
look
just
at
have to
it.
remember.
accurate.
You have to remember to write them down or record them when you're drinking.
Yes.
Luckily, we record them. There was another that I thought was kind of cool, which is more science. But the article starts off that visualization takes raw data and turns it into storytelling. But some statisticians, thank you, tapping into the same instinct that makes us want to taste luscious food we see in photos, are experimenting with ways to experience data through our other senses. And one of these great visionaries is attempting to brew data into beer. As Nathan Yao writes on his blog, Flowing Data, statisticians are exploring concepts that use the world around us as data plotting devices, such as composing music or creating meals. And then, one day, a potentially world-changing idea hit him. And he says, and I quote, "I'm curious. I like to cook. I like data. What do you get when you combine the two? And does the food help you understand data differently than you would from a bar graph? Wait a second. I also like beer. Data plus beer. Multivariate beer. Okay, got to do it." So Yao is developing a program that spits out a beer recipe based on data from the latest American Community Survey released from the United States Census Bureau. The program creates a recipe for each county in the U.S., taking into account percentage of people with at least a bachelor's degree, percentage of people who are employed, percentage of people covered by health care, median household income, population density, and percent of population that is white, black, Hispanic, and Asian. Yao notes that the great thing about beer is that it has plenty of dimensions to work with: body, bitterness, heat retention, hop profile, color, aroma, alcohol by volume, and plenty more. The amount of various ingredients affects how beer looks, tastes, and smells. So still a work in progress. Here's how a beer recipe is formed. Greater head retention should increase with higher education. So a grain called, carapils is added. Mm-hmm. More hop aroma represents higher employment, which comes from more hops at the end of a boil and dry hopping. Rye adds a spice and complexity to the beer as health care coverage increases. A darker colored and more full-bodied beer comes from higher median household income and Crystal Malt 40. More hop bitterness and flavor means more people per square mile, and the type of hops, Cascade, Centennial, Citra, Warrior, and Magnum, represents the races of the population.
Interesting.
So I'd be very curious to see how this turns out and what counties he's looking at.
I'm curious to see that if those counties that are on the lowest end of income and education spit out like Old English.
I was going to say, yeah.
I don't know. I think this guy drinks too much coffee.
Probably.
Great.
But it's going to be cool. And that article came off of, I believe it was Gizmodo or one of the Gawker sites. So keep an eye on them, and I'll keep an eye out for it and obviously report on it if and when there's a follow-up to it.
Yeah.
And now the list from Thrillist, who is apparently a huge fan of Tröegs, which is awesome. It was a brief list of the top 10 brewing countries in the world.
Okay.
All right. So, any guesses as to some of the contenders?
U.S., Germany,
Belgium.
Yeah.
What
Belgium.
metric?
Gallons. How many
Okay.
gallons they brew overall?
Then yes, everything they said.
China.
China actually, yeah.
for
China's
sure.
on there. Do we want to take a stab at rankings?
Who
Who do you think is number one?
China.
China.
Yeah, China. All right, I'm just going to run through it then.
Yeah, go
Yeah. So Spain ranked at number 10 with 863,842,610 gallons. Poland was next at coming in just over 1 billion, 1,045 million, and so on. UK was number 8 with 1.1 billion. Japan was number 7, 1.46 billion gallons.
Wow.
Mexico, 2.179 billion.
That's a
Russia,
lot of cerveza.
yes.
No, it is a lot of cerveza.
Russia came in next at 2.35 billion gallons. Germany was next, 2.492 gallons. Brazil, 3.55 billion. U.S., number 2, 5.92 billion. And then China, more than doubles that, 12.295 billion gallons of beer.
Wow.
Guess
But they
that's
have
a
like 7
population
billion
thing.
people there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly,
so with that many
yeah.
people, but then you think of
Cheaters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
right.
I mean, they have over 1 billion people there, so that means that
12
gallons
per
person a year.
Right.
Which overall not so bad, but I mean that's factoring in
including children.
Exactly.
Yeah, what's the drinking age there? Too?
Yeah, I'm going to assume 18. I didn't look that up.
Aren't most of the professional eating champions also from China?
Yeah, I think so.
They can just drink a lot, I guess, too.
That really skinny dude who eats like 400 hot dogs in a setting.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. Does China export a lot of beer?
I was just wondering.
You know what? I don't know they do, and I know in a recent episode I had that infographic that had their number one beer was Snow, I believe it was.
That's right. Yeah.
And that is not available in the U.S.
And of course, it was Japan that gifted the world with the Hello Kitty beer.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did, which is
Thanks
a travesty.
a lot.
Yes. Yeah. And I just read something on the internet, and this is a completely ridiculous tangent, that the Hello Kitty character is not a cat.
Not a cat.
Yeah,
what is that about? That doesn't make any sense. It's apparently like a British girl.
It's a kitten
who looks like a cat. I don't understand. Yeah, it's a freaking cat. Whatever.
Yeah. Why else would it be Hello Kitty? Like, is she saying Hello Kitty to a cat?
It's also a beer. I mean,
hashtag kittens.
Speaking of beer, that's why we're here.
That is why we're here. Yeah, not Hello Kitty.
Yeah, I'm going to stab myself in the face if we talk about Hello Kitty for an hour.
Man, I am right there with you.
I was just about to show you my tattoo. Darn.
Oh, last thing about Hello Kitty, I promise. There's a girl I work with who has a tattoo of Hello Kitty. It's see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil.
I saw a picture of a guy on the internet, like a really gothed out guy who had a Hello Kitty tattooed right on the middle of his forehead. I don't know if it was real, but it looked like it.
I would hope not, for his sake.
I hope it happened while he was passed out.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So, speaking of beer, we are here at Tröegs. We're very excited to be here. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for having us out here.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you for the awesome tour earlier, and I'm sure the awesome beers that are staring me down from across the way. Mm-hmm. And we have some stuff we're taking home. I got a 4-pack of Lagrave that I'm very excited, which Lagrave, callback, is what Nick brought with him as it was freshly released. So, Nick brought it to us when we were recording in our quote-unquote studio, and it was amazing, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on some more. So, I am taking it home with me, which is fantastic.
Very nice.
That's going to be gone by tomorrow.
And it's all going to be at Tröegs. I mean, I definitely think definitely one of my favorite breweries. In our area.
Yeah, I mean, with Troegenator and I
is
like
one of my
Perpetual is always phenomenal, and Dreamweaver is God. Whenever I go to a bottle shop, if Dreamweaver's there, I have to get it.
And
I can't not walk away without it.
The Mad Elf.
Which
in Mad Elf season. And Nugget Nectar.
And
we got some exciting news about Nugget Nectar, too.
I know! I'm so excited. I asked Mike, I'm like, the rumors are true, right?
I think I missed the news. What is it?
Well, why don't we start the interview with the news?
Yeah. Might as well start. So we're happy to report that Nugget Nectar will be coming out this season in 4 packs of 16-ounce pounder cans.
Whoa, that's cool.
Following suit with, on the heels of Troegenator, we put out in pounders, obviously, last year. So, everyone's pretty stoked about it, including all of us here, obviously.
Of course, yeah. How could you not be?
Absolutely.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
That's awesome. So when is that going to be released in cans then?
It'll come out, when we typically release Nugget Nectar mid-January. Probably going to push it out a little earlier this year. Just because we have the capacity and the means to now. So we're hoping that it'll be out in all of our markets by 2nd, 3rd week of January.
Yay.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Very nice.
So
if it's not out,
tuned.
I will be emailing you every day.
Yes. When is it coming out?
Jeff,
it's not out yet.
Jeff, I didn't get it yet.
You said it was going to be out.
Jeff.
It's not out.
Come on, Jeff.
Oh, believe me, I get plenty of those emails for Mad Elf season and Nugget Nectar season. Are insane.
It keeps them busy.
Yeah. When does Mad Elf make its triumphant return?
Very soon, actually. Yeah, bottles, 12 and 22 ounce.
I have it.
Yeah, October 13th.
Yeah, October 13th. Gift packs in 101 ounce are going to be November 3rd. 6 stools and half kegs are November 17th. So they kind of tier it out, kind of package it separately and send it
so
all out.
it lasts a little longer, yeah.
And I know one of the interesting things, Mike, that you mentioned on the tour was how they kind of stockpile everything and then release it to all the distributors on the same day.
Exactly.
So it doesn't cause any hard feelings if somebody got
Which
it
is
first.
a really good idea.
Yeah,
exactly.
I like that.
And it speaks obviously to the popularity of the beer. I mean, the fact that you got to do that, it's that's a good thing.
The distributor is our customer, so we're always going to keep them happy and have them to be on an even sales field. Doesn't give anyone advantage, no hard feelings.
And it's got to be a great beer if a certain distributor having it a day before is actually going to give them an advantage sales-wise. I mean, to know that people
for something like that,
people will travel. I mean,
you
cannot talk to the people who work at the general store, and they get people from out of state.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been case limits of it, and people have bring friends, and it's those 5 cases for him, and him.
Yep.
Yep.
When was it first released, Mad Elf?
That's a good question.
I believe it was.
It has to be like at least.
I'm thinking 2001 or 2002, because it was one of the 3 beers that they released when they were struggling for the first couple years. Tröegs was kind of, not turning a profit so much. They were making some beers that I think were. You got to consider the time frame we were in too. Late 90s.
Started 97.
They were doing a nut brown, a Bavarian lager, and things like that. And Chris Troegner had a famous quote where he basically said, "If we're going to go down, we might as well have fun doing it."
Right.
So
that's where I believe also Troegenator came around that time.
Yeah, it was Hopback, Troegenator, and I think Mad Elf was the third one. They kind of released them in succession.
Just kind of,
and it was just a beer that they wanted to drink during the holidays, and it just like.
And that's what
threw caution in the wind.
Sparked the fire.
Sometimes you got to take a chance.
Awesome. But Hopback was the first one that put them on the map. But then after that, it was just kind of like, once they started, we can actually make money doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Was it a hit right away, or did it take a little bit for it to catch on?
Mad Elf, from what I understand, caught on very quickly.
Okay.
The first cases that they sent out, it was a small amount, but they sold out just in pre-orders.
That's awesome.
And so they were just like surprised that everyone wanted to drink this weird Belgian style beer with cherries and honey that was like 11%.
So good.
It is really good.
And it also kind of grew slowly. It was one of those harder to get beers where the demand was fresh for a long time. I think they kind of the first couple of years built up the demand a little bit, which I thought was a really smart idea.
Right.
Instead of just flooding the market and say, people.
It's here, get it.
It does, kind of. I think that does help to sort of make it a little bit rare off the bat, And
absolutely.
Tröegs has always been about slow and steady growth instead of just pushing stuff out there right away.
Test the waters.
Right.
I mean, look at the building we're in. That's a
to
testament to the growth that Tröegs has made. I mean, this is
3 times original size.
Huge, and super impressive building.
90,000 square feet.
This is the first time I've ever actually been here, and
same here.
This place is
nice.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry, guys.
I know from the actual brewing areas and all that, but for the brew pub out there, the seating outside.
They really did their homework, and they wanted to make it very hands-on, user-friendly, and like a destination where people can come and not only have the beer, but learn about the process and see it, firsthand. That's why the brew deck is kind of overlooking the
which is awesome.
Tasting room, and that's like the highlight of the centerpiece of the
and Wayne had made a comment when we were on the tour. You can tell that you can always tell when a brewery has it set up for a tour, but there's always to me a difference where it's set up for a tour and looks like crap, and set up for a tour and it's integrated into everything, which I think out there Tröegs has done very well. It's right above, and you have what was that? That was right on the brew deck. Was that the mash tun?
Mash tun, lauter tun, and boil kettle.
Yeah,
up there.
And just having that behind the bar, but still visible to everybody else, and you can go up there and take a tour of it.
Well, not only that, but when they're brewing, it's also really filling the room with the aromas of the brewing process.
And
especially
you can always tell the first day of Brew Nugget Nectar. Oh my God! You walk in and you can it just permeates
pretty
throughout
much
everywhere.
Whenever they add that first hop addition, everyone in the room simultaneously turns around. It's like, what is going on?
It's awesome.
It's some goodness.
That is awesome.
I consider that a fringe benefit of working here.
Yeah.
When you walk in and get that, hit
real
in the face.
man cologne.
Yeah, exactly.
It really is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we were also just talking about how large this building is. I also don't want people to forget we also just got a distribution center too. Large part of that is also refrigerated to keep beer fresh. That solved a few problems. We start running out of room to store cases, especially Mad Elf. Also, imagine trucks going through our parking lot right now. That was another issue. So eliminating that traffic made a lot of sense. And it's not terribly too far. So it was a really nice addition. But
going to give us more room for photos and other fun stuff.
More
that John buys.
Cool. More toys.
More toys. That's what it
boils
boils down
I have to
to.
point out, too, that I didn't know that this location, the new one, was so close to Hershey Park.
Oh, yeah, man.
Driving up the street, I saw the roller coaster. It was like, I didn't know it was there. but it's cool. I mean, do you get a lot of people coming from the park like afterwards, or coming here first and then going to the park?
No, come here before a Bears game.
The park, yeah.
Bears games
Bears
We
are
games are
always
huge.
come before Bears games, and you
Concerts.
cannot move.
Concerts are huge.
Concerts, I can
imagine,
see.
yeah.
Concerts,
The Zach Brown, Jimmy Buffett weekend was
Oh.
it was the same weekend, and it was
Oh, man.
we broke our record of all time on Friday night, and then the next night we broke that record.
Oh my
Wow.
God!
Wow.
So it was
Which one had
ridiculous.
the ultimate record then? Zach Brown?
I think
or-
it was the Zach Brown.
Yep.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
second
Jeez,
Saturday.
wow.
Wow.
And then like the auto show that they have here. Is
Oh, I
huge.
forgot about the auto show.
Yeah, and I mean the outlets are right there too.
Yep.
So it's like
It's a great
drop the
spot.
wife off at the outlets,
It's-
unless
yeah.
she likes beer.
Drop the kids off.
Drop the husband
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
Drop
Send
the
the
kids
kids
off
to
at
the
the
park,
park.
the
Yeah.
wife to the outlets, and sit
And
and
you
drink,
come here
yeah.
and drink your face off.
That's right. That's right.
It's
So,
a good setup. Yeah.
do they serve any Tröegs beers at the venues?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hershey?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. it's been a long time
fact-
since I've been to a concert there.
Couple-
Had Nugget Nectar there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, we went to see Matchbox 20 up there, and if I remember right, you had, I forget what it was, but I was jealous that you had a Tröeg. I didn't have any
Of
money with me,
course.
but
That's
Yeah.
where I get my seats at the Bears game based on where the Tröeg stand is.
Nice.
I'm not kidding you.
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well,
Gotta
when
plan.
we the last show, or one of the last shows I saw at the Giant Center was Rush, my favorite band,
Yeah.
and I actually got meet and greet passes based on working here.
Oh my
Really?
God!
Oh, that's awesome.
So we actually got to meet the band, and like right after I got done meeting the band, like they opened up the curtain and there was the Tröeg stand, and I was just like. Just so ecstatic, you know, and I was like, I'm gonna buy like the
Worlds
biggest beer I can
collided.
get, yeah. So I ended up buying, you know, a huge $12 or $15 hot back for both of us because I was in such
Yeah,
a
you
good
can
mood.
get huge.
That's awesome.
And I actually
Mugs
pulled
of
out.
them.
I actually pulled out my employee discount card, and I was like, "Can I use this here?" And she gave me this weirdest look. And of course, wasn't being serious, but
Yeah.
it was kind of funny.
That's funny.
Worth a shot.
was
Right?
was Neil Peart? Was he kind of like backing off from everybody? Because I heard he's not very social.
Thank you for saying his name correctly. First of all,
Oh yeah, no, I used
and-
I used to work for WMMR, and that was the biggest
Oh,
thing.
nice.
Neil Peart? You said, no, who the hell is Neil Peart?
Neil actually does not do the meet and greets.
Oh,
really?
Really?
He stepped back from doing a lot of the promotion and publicity when I don't know if you and not to jump on a tangent of talking about Rush because people are probably
Hashtag
like, yeah, who
tangent.
cares?
He was really
Exactly.
disappointed it was me, actually.
he had some personal tragedies that occurred back in the late 90s where he lost his daughter in a car accident and then
Oh,
lost his
no.
wife within a year
Oh,
to
no.
cancer.
That's
So
terrible.
yeah, he did this whole they like essentially ended the band for about 5 years. And he's obviously since recovered and he's remarried now. And,
Wow.
so yeah, it was a pretty rough patch for him.
Understandable,
Not to get
so.
on a downer.
Yeah.
but
Nah.
Bring the room down. Oh,
yeah.
man.
Wow.
Show's over.
No,
But yeah,
no. We
so-
still have beer to drink.
But yeah, so anyway, yeah, getting back to the whole location, it's like obviously been very beneficial for us
Yeah,
to,
it's-
to
how
be
long-
located where we are.
How long has Tröegs been in this location?
October of 2011.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
so it's fairly recent.
Yeah.
And
Just-
where was
just coming up on our 3-year anniversary?
3 years, yep.
where
Yeah.
was the old one?
On Paxton Street in Harrisburg.
Harrisburg,
Okay.
yeah.
Like downtown Harrisburg.
We were there
Okay.
for 15 years.
Right.
Wow.
You
And
can
now
you can still go
Appalachian
there.
has that facility, correct?
No, it's actually
We have our bottling line.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
It's a donation center for Habitat Humanity. So we were really excited that it was
Oh,
going to
okay.
be a nonprofit
Yeah.
organization that supports the community. If you think about it, a brewery is ideally an open warehouse, just no walls, no things. So it's an ideal storage space and easy to get trucks into that parking garage and things. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. They had the garage style doors to get large items in there. Made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about the brewery, but we haven't talked about you guys
This is
personally.
true. This
yet.
is true.
So
The brewery's a lot more exciting.
Yeah, so downhill.
Jeff,
Yeah,
how long
brewery.
have you been with the brewery?
I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary in August, although I am a almost lifelong fan of Tröegs. They pretty much are responsible for getting me into craft beer.
Yeah.
Just to tell the quick story, if I may.
Sure.
Was never much of a beer guy my entire life. I was actually a late bloomer. Probably didn't start drinking beer till I was 28, maybe. But I'm
Jeez.
from a town north of here in the coal region of Pennsylvania called Shamokin.
Same with my parents.
Oh yeah, that shithole. Yeah. So
Cole.
Cool.
a lot of coal up there. A lot of bad beer up there. which is one of the reasons why I didn't acquire a taste for it for so long, because Genesee Cream Ale and Yangling were about the best beers you can get up in that area, and I was just like, okay, beer's not for me, it all tastes the same, whatever. Then I moved down here, playing a lot of bands, and we started playing at Appalachian Brewing Company, so I started trying some of their beer, and I'm like, oh, wow, beer's actually not that bad. And I'm like, oh, if you like that, you should try Tröegs. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And they're like, oh, it's this brewery right here in Harrisburg. I'm like, right on. So one day I was out with some colleagues in my last job for lunch, saw the yellow tap handle there, and I didn't even know what it was, but I'm like, I'll have the Tröegs. And it was the Rugged Trail Nut Brown Ale, which was like a perfect, what I call gateway beer.
Yeah.
For me, because, like, if it would have been something really aggressively hoppy, that my palate wasn't ready for, so it was just like the perfect entry-level beer for me. And ever since that beer, that was just like kind of the floodgates opened, and I started seeking out all of their beers and found out where the brewery was, which was right across the river from where I worked. So I used to go over there no fewer than 3 times a week during my lunch break.
Nice.
Got the name Tröeg Stalker from a few people. But I kind of, in retrospect, laid the groundwork for me for getting the job here, because I became friendly with a lot of the people who worked there. I learned a lot about the brewery.
You were almost always the first person to review a scratch beer on Beer Advocate, too.
That's right. Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, I was really into the reviewing thing for a couple of years.
Every review starts with first.
Yeah, there's not that many people outside of the brewery that have had every scratch beer since the first one, and I'm definitely one of those.
That
people.
is no small feat.
That is huge.
Yeah,
So
so
161 strong, just to put it in perspective.
Yeah, really. That's a
so
lot.
Essentially, this was pretty much my dream job, aside from going on tour with one of my bands.
Right.
So this was just like, okay, if I have to have a job every day,
real
this
job.
is about as good as it gets for me.
That's,
And the luster still hasn't worn off. I still get excited every day I come in. It's
That's
awesome. Yeah. So that's my spiel.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, Mike, how about you?
I'm a part-time employee here. Work most Sundays as a tour guide. I've done a couple things like working behind the bar. I started working as hired as a Saturday employee, kind of almost the original Saturday crew. Originally, Chris and John and Ed would pretty much run the tasting room by themselves, probably for close to the first 10-plus years. So brought in a couple people to take care of serving the beers. Then when we start transitioning to having 2 buildings, they were trying to prep this building and still ramp up the bottling at the original facility. Chris and John found themselves here a lot more often on Saturdays, so they start training some people for tours. So myself and another employee were given first employee tours on Saturdays. Of course, brewers did and stuff too. But so I've been working here for over 5 years now, and when we moved over here, we didn't have tours, so I worked as a bartender, help out with various warehouse activities, and most recently I've been giving tours.
Very cool.
Nice.
And you did a very good job with our tour.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thank you.
And you're also a home brewer, correct?
Yes.
Which I
Yes.
think is how we first connected with you, because
Yes.
you are a member of Sons of Alchemy.
Yes, I am. And I also got into brewing from working at Tröegs. Big surprise.
Yeah.
More specifically, we actually have a really fun event called Metal Brewer every other year. So we're given the task to create a beer by using a secret ingredient. It's kind of like Iron Chef. So the first year it was really very simple. It was just dried fruit. So that's really easy to incorporate into Belgian beers, hoppy beers, wheat beers, whatever. So they wanted to make things more interesting last year. I think Fedge may have had a hand in this.
Yeah.
So the root vegetable was the last year's secret ingredient. Well,
Nice.
So my first time brewing was working on being a part of a team, and I'd read about brewing, but I'm much more of a hands-on visual learner, and so really things start clicking. So actually, after participating in that, I jumped right into all grain. So now I'm doing 10-gallon batches. We converted some kegs. We control our fermentation temperatures. I actually have 3 different fermentation boxes.
See, I'm not the only one.
A refrigerator just for keg beer. Also, we aerate our wort with pure oxygen. It's brewers make wort, yeast make beer, so it's controlling your fermentation temperatures, aerating your beer, and a healthy pitch is really, besides being clean with beer, is really the secret of making home brew, I think, and any beer, really. But, yeah, working at Tröegs, we have access to the yeast lab. If we find any weird yeast, like I got some heady topper yeast that started becoming commercially available, which is the Conan yeast. It's very fruity, very good for IPA. So we have that in stock now at the microbiology lab. So we can just give them a little email, a little week's notice, and brew with that.
That's pretty awesome. It's always nice, working at a brewery that allows you to sort of, take a little, can I try some of this? Or kind of, whatever you got that you can sort of experiment with on your own.
Experimental hops are very popular this year. It's
been
it's going to be interesting. They only give them numbers to see if they're even going to come to actually be a commercial product. Probably costs money to give them a real name.
A real name, yeah.
It's funny that you brought up Metal Brewer because we were just talking about that today. John Tröegner said that he wants to do that again because we typically do it every 2 years. Mm-hmm. We haven't had it yet. It usually is in November. And I definitely want to do it because last year my team won.
Oh, yeah? Awesome.
2 years ago, I should say. Yeah. We did a red beet saison called Beat It.
Cool.
And since I was brought on as the new marketing guy, part of the Metal Brewer experience is you have to come up with a homebrew recipe and brew it, do a food pairing, and then a marketing presentation. And I'm like, there's no way I am losing the marketing presentation because it's like, fire this jackass and
hire the guy who won. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm like, there's no way. And
it was
I came up with this concept that I won't go into too much detail about it, but let's just say that the name of the brewery was Bulbous Knob. Which kind of played on the whole root vegetable thing as well. So, and it was, Chris and John were in tears, so mission accomplished.
Awesome.
Punny and a little dirty, I'm on board.
The whole thing was nothing but a pun.
Double entendres. Very nice.
So there's a growler on
I was just about to segue, but you stole my thunder.
Yes.
So speaking of homebrew, let's...
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
All right, so this is your homebrew, Mike,
yes,
right?
Yes,
it is.
This is the D-Berry for Polite Company.
Yes.
Or the Doucheberry.
Yes.
And we'll see whether or not Dan decides to put a bleep there.
I'm not going to bleep that one.
Okay, good.
No, you can say douche on the radio. I'm not going to bleep that one.
I guess you can on normal radio, so why not?
8-year-olds say douche now.
It's 8-year-olds say the worst things in the world.
It's like saying duty head, but...
All right, so I can talk about the beer as we're pouring it, passing it around.
That looks awesome.
Now, I am required, in order to maintain a brewery at my household that I live with my loving girlfriend, I have to make a fruit beer once a year. That's the only requirement, and stay out in the garage, too, is the other one.
Yep.
So what we're doing here is I've made a lot of different sour ones, and I've tried different sour techniques. This is not a sour beer, but you're going to notice some sourness from it. I'm actually using some acid malt in the mash, which is going to lower the pH level. And then I just, brewed a regular beer. The malt profile is Pilsner, white wheat, Carapils, and that acid malt. Just about 8% acid malt. That's just kind of testing the water for it. Then I fermented it with just Tröeg's house ale yeast, and after primary fermentation, I racked it onto 5 gallons of beer onto 8 pounds of a mix of raspberry and blueberry.
Frozen or fresh?
It is frozen. Just kind of mashed it up in the bag and added in. And I just cold crashed it for a really long time. This is not filtered. I'm kind of impressed how it looks.
It is, considering. Wow.
Gorgeous
It's one of the
color.
reddest beers I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is an awesome color. It's really good. It's it's tart but refreshing.
Yes, it's a very good way to put it.
And there's also some sweetness in there. There is some lactose in there. So you're knowing a little bit more of that fuller body from the unfermentable sugars and the lactose. And, of course, it's also going to add some sweetness to it, too. So it's kind of a little bit tart, a little bit sweet and refreshing. It's a nice summer beer. Of course, it's now fall.
Nice. And it doesn't linger too much.
No,
that's
doesn't.
always my big complaint.
It hashtag
it cleans up after itself.
Yes, it does.
It's
that's
really
nice. Kind of a nice, light grainy finish once the tartness kind of kicks away.
You expect it to finish sweet, but I like that the grainy finish. It's nice.
Yeah, you do. It kind of
it
gives
takes
you a little
back in for more.
And it gives you like a fake out at the end. Like you're
Yeah.
expecting a fruity
It
sweetness,
zigs
and
when
then
it
it
should have
kind of
zagged.
yeah, it zigs when it should.
It's like, this is going to lay on my palate. Oh no, there it goes. It's gone already.
And I do brew with my friend Barry Limpo. He used to be a tour guide out here at Tröeg's. He had a kid and met out. He's out in Pittsburgh right now, so he moved out from the area. That's why I had to leave the company. But his half is just pure raspberry. Now, I only got a little sample of that, so I don't have too much to compare and contrast. But it's probably a little bit more tart from the additional raspberries, 8 pounds of raspberries.
Wow. We have some spectators out there.
Yeah, we do. We should
wave at the people walking past the window.
Hi, people walking by. Hey, waving back. All right.
I feel like I'm in a zoo or something.
Yeah, I know, right? It's funny. It's funny because we've recorded a couple of times at places where there's like just the general public
Should
around.
I slide stickers under the door?
I'd maybe put a sticker on that easel there, like just rest
slap
it.
a sticker right on the door.
I would actually hate to be one of the guys who work in the packaging line because there's so much traffic that comes up here. People just stand there and just like stand there and watch.
So what if I mess up? What if I mess up? What if I mess up?
Like,
oh God!
I don't.
It
mind,
wouldn't be them messing up.
I don't mind people
machine.
like staring at us while we're doing this, but I would not want people like watching me all day at my regular job. So that would be kind of weird.
Yeah, imagine a person just like walking up to your desk and just standing there,
like,
looking at you for 45 minutes.
People walking by, like.
Did you get the memo?
I don't
about
know.
CPS
It kind of
reports?
makes you feel like a bit of a celebrity too.
Well, no, that's why I don't mind it. People watching us when we do this.
Yeah.
No, but when you're brewing.
Oh, when you're brewing,
I think
yeah.
Well,
I don't work as a
with
brewer, so
with the craft beer boom, brewers are becoming a little bit of, there's a little bit of celebrityism.
Oh
there.
man, talk about it. Yeah, when I used to go to Tröegs, Chris and John were like rock star status to me.
Absolutely.
They still are. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See them every day. But that was also one of the things that I really admired about the place when I went over there, is that Chris and John were so hands on. I've gone in there before, and Chris would be painting, power washing walls. The one day I went in there and bought 2 cases of beer, and John helped me carry it out to my car. Just like, how cool is that?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
The owner of the brewery doing that.
I mean, the owner of Home Depot isn't going to help you carry it. They have other people do that.
Yeah. that stuck with me for years. That was when I first started going over there too, and they didn't even really know me.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, John especially is really, really hands on, just because he oversees the whole brewing side of the process. Chris is more involved with the marketing and sales side of things, and finance and whatnot. So it's kind of a good
yin and yang.
Yeah, exactly.
Jinx.
Yeah, you know me, Coke.
So should we try a Tröegs beer?
Yes. Please, let's. What do we have? Okay, I know I'm not supposed to ask you this, Steph, because you told me not to ask you again. But what's up? No.
Don't mess up the order.
What's up next?
So is that
we are doing Scratch 160.
60? Okay.
This is a Belgian style saison and weighing at 6.7%.
Thank you, Steph.
This was brewed for Matt Hobbs' sister's wedding. Is that correct?
Another saison for someone's wedding.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a big
it's
wedding
like a
beer.
thing, yeah.
So Matt Hobbs used to be a brewer here. He recently took on, he oversees the packaging line. So, that's another great thing about working here. It's like, your employers, you come to them and say, hey, I want to do a beer for my uncle's, nephew's, cousin's former roommate's freaking wedding or something. Yeah. Little Spaceballs
Just
reference.
Yes. And what does that make us?
Absolutely nothing.
It's what you're about to become.
So this beer has a really hoppy nose to it. That's the first thing that really jumps out to me on this beer. And part of that probably reason it's experimental hop 871. That's from ADHA. And it's known for a little bit floral, citrusy, herbal.
ADHA is the American Dwarf Hop Association.
Dwarf?
Yes.
So they're little hops.
Do they
Dwarf
mostly
hops,
just deal
not
with
dwarfs
experimental
that are
hops? Do you know?
Farming hops.
I believe so. Yes.
Those would be hop dwarves.
I've seen their name on a lot of different experimental hops. That's why I asked.
Do hops mind being called dwarfs?
I don't know.
I don't
Well,
think
is
so.
it dwarf because the hop itself is dwarf, or dwarf because they don't grow a lot of them?
I don't know. I've never heard of a hop being called dwarf before. So.
I just think back to my Dungeons and Dragons days.
Yep.
This is so good.
I'm a level 12 hop
This
dwarf.
is really good.
I was always a dwarf.
The grains really come out, or the malt profile really comes out when you taste it. Like that hoppy nose kind of fades away, and the malt really takes over in the taste. I really like it.
Yeah.
It's
This-
6.7% also.
This was one of my favorite saisons that we've
by
done in
far.
the last 2 years or so.
Yeah.
I
Came out
love
really nice.
the
Surprised
the
it's still here,
herbal
really.
notes.
Yeah.
And you get the that just hint of sweetness from the Belgian yeast.
There's like a little bit of bubble gum in
lot.
there.
A
Yeah,
little bit and a
tiny little bit,
bit, of the fruitiness, but
And
very well
it
done
is
here.
using
It's
a
good.
French saison yeast. I'm assuming probably the same one as Master of Pumpkins.
Yes. That's also the one we
we'll
used
get
in
to
Beat
that.
It. French
Hey.
saison yeast strain.
Excellent.
It is a really solid saison. It's really good. It's very drinkable, and it's got a really nice mouthfeel. It's got like a slight creamy, like really fine carbonation. It's really
well,
right.
there is a
Champagne-y.
touch of wheat in it, so it's probably from that.
Softens it up a
It's
little.
delicious.
A little bit of rye also.
I'm glad we decided to throw. That's what the spiciness is
Yep,
coming
I couldn't.
from.
I couldn't put my finger on it.
There you go.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
And I think the spiciness comes out a little more the more you drink it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
after like
definitely.
the third or fourth sip, you start to get a little peppery-ish.
We also let it warm up too, so it was really it was very aromatic when we first got to it, and that malt profile, like I already mentioned, is coming out, and I think it's because it's a little bit warmer, which is awesome.
I never used to realize that temperature could affect the beer like that.
That is why the big brewers want to serve their beer so cold. Now, of course, they're very clean. They're actually probably the best brewers in the world. They're making the most difficult style in a million different packages.
And making it
exactly
so
the same
consistently.
over and over.
Exactly. But, as the beer warms up, you're going to get more of that malt profile and more hop profile, which is not going to be crazy in that beer. But they want it to be very muted, very simple to drink, easy to go down, and you get another one. Where craft beer is going to focus more on the full flavor. We're going to drink slower. We're going to drink less, and just have
Drink slower and less. What?
But just to kind of backtrack a little bit, maybe talk about our scratch series. If there's listeners out there that maybe aren't too familiar with Tröegs, we have a series of limited kind of experimental single batch beers that we do here at the brewery. I'm sure you guys are all aware, called our Scratch Beer series. We've done over 160 of them. Kind of started off as an experiment to celebrate our 10th anniversary. So they started doing scratch beers back at the old brewery. All of them were pretty much bottled at one point. They got up to the point where it started to become more of a proving ground for beers. Some of our seasonals and year-rounds have developed out of the scratch series. Perpetual IPA is a big one.
Flying Mouflon, wasn't that like number 2
4.
or something? Number 4.
Yeah. Flying Mouflon.
Gold medal, Great American Beer Festival, too.
Yeah, I think it won a bronze.
Bronze?
Yeah.
Gold
Even
medal.
so, just
Even
medal
so,
at all.
it won a medal. The scratch beer won a medal, which is kind of the impetus of having it become a seasonal beer.
Sure.
So a lot of the new seasonals that we're putting out now, Hop Knife went through a series of test batches through our scratch series.
Blizzard of Hops
and
also.
Blizzard of Hops also. So a lot of people are like, wow, you guys are putting out a lot of IPAs. That's the reason. Jovial's the same way.
Right.
So yeah, it's really turned into kind of like a really nice way to get feedback from customers before we put out a beer.
Right.
And also my
And it
favorite...
lets our brewers have fun.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
It keeps things fresh for them. Keeps their creative juices flowing. But I always say on my tours, the year rounds you already know. The seasonals you can predict. It's the scratch beers that are a question mark, which keeps people coming to the brewery.
Yeah.
It's we come out with several new beers that are not predictable every month.
It keeps it fresh.
Yeah, it keeps it awesome, and you could be a brewer or you could be making candy, and if you're making the same 5 all year long, it gets really boring and tedious. And I actually even asked John one time, I was like, well, how much control do you give each brewer? Because the brewers go on rotation, take the lead of a scratch beer, come up with a style. They're encouraged to try something new, incorporate local ingredients. But he said he lets them do whatever they want, and he just says a quick glance over for any glaring errors, like way too much specialty malt or something crazy like that. And I think that's really, really awesome.
And I think that's
There's
the
a lot
key.
of freedom with it, yeah.
Is to give the brewers the freedom to experiment, and even employees that might homebrew, give them the chance to maybe take a little bit of different ingredients home to try it, because you never know where the next great idea is going to come from.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Or you can filter out the bad ideas too.
Should we drink one more before we play a game?
I'm okay with that.
Let's do that. And do you want to
Sold.
play a game?
Would you like to play thermonuclear war?
By the way, I have to mention, and I was going to hold off on it, but I have to mention that I know you mentioned the Blizzard of Hops.
Yes.
I love the name of that.
Thank you.
Just even to start, because it's a play on something that's already a play on something else's name.
True.
It's very meta.
Because you have Wizard of Oz, and then you have Blizzard of Oz, and then you have Blizzard of Hops.
It's funny you mention that. That was the second beer that I was able to name working here.
So
First being Master of Pumpkins.
Okay, I had a feeling that would be you.
A little bit of a theme. It didn't really end up that way. See, what I do is when I try to come up with ideas, I love brainstorming, and I will write anything down, even if it sucks.
Yeah, just put it down.
So Master of Pumpkins was one of those names where I just liked the name of it because that's like my favorite metal album of all time. And I'm like, they're never going to go for that. Although I know John is a big metal fan.
Oh, that's awesome.
We were at the same Metallica concert back in 1989, actually. Didn't know it, yeah. So that was one of those names that I just kind of came up with, and I'm like, yeah, they'll just kind of gloss over that. I really wanted to call it Patchwork.
Yeah,
I thought that was like with pumpkin patch working in and kind of So they're like nah. But Master of Pumpkins, and I'm like, oh, that was just kind of like a throwaway name, but I left it on the list anyway, and they kind of gravitated to that. So actually, the original write up of the beer had a little lyric thrown in. The last line of the write up was "Taste it, you will see. More is all you need," and we pulled it from this year, yeah. So, but it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with Master of Puppets, Lars Ulrich. So
no.
nothing at all.
Nope.
It's a nice nod to them, though.
It's a nice homage, yes.
Yes.
I said it correctly.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you. But Blizzard of Hops, same thing. It was one of those things where it was a winter IPA, so I'm like Blizzard. I was thinking of winter themes and hops. There's so many beers with hops in the name, but it is an IPA, and I'm just like, it's kind of a little Aussie nod there. So
I love it.
Yeah,
Thank
you.
And I'm really excited, but that beer is going to be partially dry hop with Galaxy.
Yes.
Really new, really
excited.
awesome Australian hop.
We saw pallets of it earlier.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
I was very excited that day.
So the beer we're drinking now, Dead Reckoning, was our previous fall seasonal. Just replaced this year by Hop Knife Harvest Ale, which has been a ridiculous huge hit for us. People were raving about that. This has always been one of my favorite beers that Tröegs produced. It was my first dark beer that I ever had, and I was kind of afraid of dark beers at the time, but I was really just getting into hops. So when I first had this beer, I was like, I didn't know what to expect, and I was like, oh man, it's like it's got this really great earthy bitterness to it, like a nice bite.
It's very complex, and it
So I was very
goes through a whole from hops to malts.
Yeah.
I was very, very sad to see this beer kind of fall by the wayside, but it was one of those beers where our summer seasonal was Sunshine Pills, and we try to sell our beers to accounts, so it was very hard to lead with a Pilsner in the summer and then switch over to a porter in the fall. The transition was a little rough. So that was kind of one of the things that led us to coming out with a Harvest Ale for our fall season, which I think makes a lot more sense, despite this beer having somewhat of a cult status. But we're still going to produce it at the brewery as a draft-only release, so it'll come out probably every September. We actually did a very limited bottling of it this year just to kind of weed out the rest of the packaging that we had left over. But, so we're gonna continue to brew it at least once a year as a brewery-only draft selection.
And this really is kind of a black IPA before there was a black IPA.
The original, that's what I like to think of it as. One of the original black IPAs.
It's really a hoppy porter. Really has a nice chocolate start in the taste that really finishes off with the hoppy goodness.
And the earthy
a nice
flavor,
roast,
the
it's
earthy
got a nice
flavor comes
roast in the
through,
end,
and like for me, it comes through in a way that I don't think I've ever really gotten that out of another porter or dark IPA or black IPA. Just it's like Wayne said, it's complex.
Yeah. I think really black IPAs are really tough, and I think they're kind of starting to fall off in popularity. Dark malts and getting the hops to shine through that can be a difficult thing. I'm kind of from home brewing, I'm almost thinking about cold pressing the malts so you don't extract as much bitterness and things from that, and let the hop shine a little bit more.
And I think there's some black IPAs out there that are just IPAs that look dark, but they taste like an IPA.
They might just use like a de-bittered malt for dark malt just to add the color, which makes a lot of sense.
But the hop combination in this I really enjoy. It's basically just Chinook and Vanguard. That's it. I think it's the only beer we've used Vanguard in. It's not a very common hop you see used a lot.
I can't think of any other beers off the top of my head that use it.
So
I really like this.
Plus, it was a great arcade game from the 80s.
So that Wayne is slightly more drunk and might fumble over this game. I am too. What do we have?
Well, since this will be our sort of Halloween episode, or at least our episode that
I don't have any scary music.
that will be released the closest to Halloween. Yeah, it only
There you
kind
go.
of
You do the
Yeah, I've got
Scooby-Doo
that.
sound effects.
there you go. That fact only really occurred to me in the past few days because we've been having a pretty hectic recording schedule lately, and I said, wait a minute, this is going to be our Halloween episode. So in that vein, I'm going to welcome you to the second annual spooky, scary, spine-tingling, blood-curdling edition of Scary Bad Time Games. See what I'm
Waka
saying?
waka.
Yeah, waka waka. To celebrate this time of tricking and treating, we'll be playing a new game that I like to think of as the slightly more sophisticated older brother of Libation or Fabrication. A game that
Is
I
that
call...
supposed to be a slight at me?
No, actually, as I was reading over this earlier today, I thought to myself, Dan might take offense to that. But it wasn't. We'll say slightly older cousin of Libation or Fabric. Oh, well, you're slightly older than
The
me.
redheaded
Yeah,
stepchild.
what the hell?
The redheaded stepchild. But this game I call, one of these beers is fake and the other is real, and you have to guess which one is real. And oh yeah, they're all Halloween themed. So
Nice.
pretty much what it says on the tin. I'll name two beers. One's real, one's fake. You guys will have to guess which one is which. Just to make it simple, you'll have to guess which one is real. And we'll start to my left with Dan, and these two beers are Sasquatch Session Ale and Bigfoot Barley Wine. Which one of those is real and which one of those is fake?
I'm going to go Bigfoot.
You're going to say Bigfoot is the real beer?
Yes.
All right, Jeff, what do you think?
Oh, it's Bigfoot.
It's Bigfoot? It's Bigfoot. So it's Jeff, Mike,
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, and Steph.
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Everybody's correct, of course.
You're starting
Bigfoot.
us off easy.
Yeah, I am starting off easy. 9.6% ABV winter seasonal.
Seasonable.
This is why we put a tasting segment before the game.
That's right. It's more fun.
From, of course, Sierra Nevada, which they refer to as their cult classic Beast of a Barley Wine. It was first released way back in the before times of 1983.
In the before times.
And somewhat unusual for the style, it is available
Before
in 12
times
ounce
for Dan.
stubby
Yep.
bottles. Bigfoot Barley Wine. Stubby.
That's a great word.
That is a fun word to say. Stubby. Let's
I
say
had
it together.
some really old.
Stubby.
Stubby.
I heard some really old ones of Bigfoot in the past,
Yeah.
from like the early '90s.
Like
Yeah.
really vintage,
Yeah.
retro.
One
Held up
of
well.
my friends, so for their birthday last year, I think did a 20-year vertical.
Wow.
Wow. Really?
Wow.
How do you
Insane.
hold on to it that long and not drink
And
it?
not drink it.
I try to save Mad Elf. I'm like, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it. And I can't. I just drink it.
We have a magnum of the first year they did it up
Wow.
in Chris Trogner's office.
Oh, wow.
That will be there
have
forever.
the
That will.
Keys.
Yeah. Yeah, how
We
could
would
you
be
imagine?
in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
How to get fired at Tröeg.
Yeah, really.
One other quick comment. Really fun YouTube video, easy Googleable, is Bigfoot Open Fermentation.
Yeah.
They have a time-relapsed video out there. It's really cool.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Cool.
Check it
All
out.
right. So everybody got that one correct. No surprise there. Moving on to Jeff for our second set of beers. Tell me which one of these is real. Koopa. I'll try again. Kukapa Chupacabras or Pompous Poltergeist. Which one of those is real?
Was that last one Pompous Poltergeist? I heard
Yes.
there was a little pop in the microphone.
Pompous Poltergeist.
And what was the first one?
The first one was Kukapa Chupacabras.
I'm not going to try to say that, but I'm going to go with the first one only because it sounds like it's a Workaholics reference.
Okay. All right. Fair
And
enough.
I think that some new trendy brewery would probably call it that. So I'm
Okay.
going to go with that.
All right. Going with the Kukapa Chupacabras. Mike,
Gotta
what do
get
you think
fresh.
it is?
Chupacabras,
You're
right
going
here.
with
Yep.
Chupacabras
I
again?
love that word.
Okay, fair enough. Steph?
I'm going to go with the other one just to be different.
You're going to go the other one just to be different. And finally, Dan?
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra as well. Everyone except Steph is correct.
Boom.
Kukapa Chupacabras.
What,
was
what's
a
the prize again?
Absolutely nothing.
Beer.
A year-round offering
Here
from...
you go.
An autographed high five.
There you go. The extra... it's a... The Chupacabras beer with the other word in front of it is a year-round offering from Cerveceria Cucapa, which is that other word, in Mexicality. It's this goat-sucking quaff is a 5.8% English pale ale. It is also fun to say, as we have mentioned. Cucapa Chupacabras. Moving
Very
on
nice.
to easier beers to say, and Mike is going to guess first on this. Which one of these is real and which one is fake? Is it Zombie Repellent or Vampire Slayer?
Vampire Slayer.
You're going to go with
That's the
Vampire
real one.
Slayer is the real one. Steph, which one do you think is real?
Vampire Slayer.
Vampire Slayer as well. Dan?
Vampire Slayer.
Vampire Slayer. And rounding out with Jeff.
Vampire Slayer, and since I'm the last one, I will say that I know this for a fact because it is an awesome beer from Clown Shoes.
Yes, it is. But before that brew could begin its career of protecting helpless citizens who happen to live above a hellmouth, it was vanquished by an unholy force of trademark attorneys. It was released to celebrate the second anniversary of Clown Shoes. Vampire Slayer brought the wrath of another beverage company that began producing Vampire Pale Ale about the same time. Ceasing but not desisting, Clown Shoes kept on keeping on and renamed the beer Undead Party Crasher and added the depiction of a Vampire Slayer fending off werewolf lawyers to the label. It is a 10% Imperial Stout.
Sidebar on that one real quick. I do have a bottle of it in my beer cellar. And my wife and I are both big Buffy the Vampire Slayer fans. That's why we found the beer and bought it.
Awesome. So you have the bottle before the name changed.
I do, yeah.
So that's
we had it a couple times before, yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So unfortunately, they had to change it. But it was originally called Vampire Slayer. And this is our fourth and final beer. And for this one, we start with Steph. Which one of these is real? Is it White Walker or Night Stalker?
Night Stalker.
Night Stalker says Steph. Dan, which one do you think it is?
I'm going White Walker.
You're going with White Walker. Jeff, which one?
Night Stalker.
Night Stalker.
Night Stalker as well.
Yeah, finishing it. Yes, and everybody except Dan is correct. This is another Imperial Stout. It's an 11.7% ABV and heavily hopped by Goose Island. Night Stalker is a specialty release.
I almost bought that last week.
And it stalks
wow, really?
at night.
Maybe you should have bought it.
Presumably. Yeah.
Whap, whap, wow.
Yeah. So being the fact that all these beers today, the real beers anyway, were Halloween themed, it's kind of hard to find good Halloween themed beers that people don't know. So today's game was pretty easy. So let's see.
Our guests did really well.
They did do really well. They did do really
4
well.
out of 4.
They did so well, in fact, that both of them tied for first place with 4 points apiece.
Good job, guys.
My two fellow beer busters at the table, disappointing me once again, come in second place with 3 points apiece.
I say that's a pretty strong second place
that was
showing.
pretty good. Thank you for playing.
Just saying.
Happy Halloween.
Our prize is getting to work at an awesome brewery.
There you go.
Pretty good prize.
Their consolation prize is an awesome podcast.
How sweet of
You can come back on anytime.
You, Jeff, we're not so sure.
Nah. I knew it was going to be a problem right from the get-go.
I'm still surprised this mic's on. I don't know.
See, but the other mics will pick it up, so I can't really. I can just edit them out.
As we mentioned earlier, this isn't live. Anything could be cut.
You can't get rid of them.
Just call them a cockroach.
You can't get rid of them.
There'll just be a lot of dead air.
An hour of dead air.
Crickets.
Oh, okay.
I can't do a cricket sound.
That was
like a Wookiee.
terrible.
Wolf.
Nice. That was a fun game. I like games.
That was.
Good stuff.
And now we get to learn something.
No. Your beers. No. Know your beers. So
I like the segues. Sorry.
So in episode 11, we talked about Belgian beers briefly, mentioning the Belgian Double.
Wow.
And today we're going to focus solely on the Double.
You referenced episode 11 like I'm actually supposed to remember what number it was.
I was going to say that was earlier on in the before times.
That was very early on. So the double style originated at monasteries in the Middle Ages. It was revived in the mid-1800s. The Trappist Abbey of Westmalle had, since December 1836, brewed a light-colored beer that was quite sweet and light in alcohol for consumption by the monks. In 1856, a new beer, however, was being brewed, a strong version of a brown beer. In 1926, the recipe was changed and it became even stronger. After World War II, Abbey beers became popular in Belgium, and the name Double was used by several breweries for commercial purposes. Today, doubles are understood to be fairly strong, about 6 to 8% ABV, brown ales, with understated bitterness, fairly heavy body, and a pronounced fruitiness and cereal character. They're traditionally bottle conditioned. The aroma of a double is very complex, rich malty sweetness. The malts might have hints of chocolate, caramel, and toast. There will be moderate fruity esters, usually including raisin and plum, sometimes also dried cherries. Esters sometimes include banana or apple. They appear to be dark amber to copper in color with an attractive reddish depth of color, generally clear. Large, dense, and long-lasting creamy off-white head. Flavor is similar qualities as the aroma. Rich, complex, medium to medium full malty sweetness on the palate, yet finishes moderately dry. Complex malt esters, alcohol, and phenol interplay with a balance toward the malt. The mouthfeel is medium to full-bodied, medium-high carbonation, which can influence the perception of the body. Low alcohol warmth. Some commercial examples include Westmalle Double, St. Bernardus, Patter 6, La Trappe Double.
Jovial.
I'm getting there.
Corsendonk.
Yes, thank you. Corsendonk Abbey
Corsendonk.
Brown Ale, Chimay Premier, the red label, New Belgium Abbey, Belgian style ale, Stouts Abbey Double Ale, Russian River Benediction, Flying Fish Double, Lost Abbey, Lost and Found Abbey Ale, and Allagash Double. And of course, Jovial. Jovial comes in at 7%, one of the newest offerings from Tröeg, and this enticing Belgian-style double also features hints of raisin, fig, date, and prune. As the flavor develops, traces of toffee, chocolate, and subtle spices emerge. Jovial is bottle-conditioned and highly carbonated. You're supposed to hold your chalice and pour into the center of the glass to release these complex characters. And it was recently released in 12.7-ounce cork and cage bottles. Make sure we're opening the right cork and cage bottles. So, when was Jovial first released?
Just a few weeks ago. It hasn't even made it out into all of our markets yet. It's pretty much just been a tasting room and general store only release. Ooh,
You
that was a
should have
good
done
pop.
that right in front of
That
them.
is a fantastic
There's another one
sound.
coming.
I seem to have lost my glass.
Oh,
Oh, well, there's some clean
That's-
ones
oh,
there.
good.
Quite
We'll give you
tragic.
another
That's
one.
good. I was going to say.
you work here. You had it.
Yeah. I've only had it once. Actually, we had it. The first taste we had of it was at our last sales meeting. Chris and John broke some out during lunch, and it turned out really, really nice.
The only business
So-
where you can actually drink during lunch and it's
Oh,
okay.
there we go.
Nice.
Nice.
It's a worthy successor to Le Grave, which is the first cork and cage year-round beer that we put out, our Belgian-style triple. This one followed suit.
Yeah,
and,
that one,
we're gearing up to release it out into our various markets.
So we're sort of transitioning back into our second tasting segment. Do you want to?
Yes. Give me
Beer me!
Hit it, Meister.
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
So, speaking of Jovial, I want it in my mouth.
You jovially wanted to.
So, quick backstory on this, which we were talking about a little earlier, but didn't get taped. Jovial
taped. I love that
I
you
was just
still
gonna
use
say
the verb
it's
taped.
taped.
Yeah, you know.
Holla.
On the cassette.
Yes.
I'm old school.
The
what can I
reel to
say?
reel that we're
Yeah.
using.
On the phonograph.
Yes.
I still have a tape deck in my car.
Only it's an Apple I reel to reel.
Jovial was originally intended to be an imperial Belgian-style stout with chocolate and strawberries, raspberries. We did a couple test batches through the Scratch series, and I guess a lot of the brewers, the consensus was they just weren't feeling it. They just weren't hitting the mark. They weren't.
I think the raspberry's tough to shine with all the specialty malt in
Belgian,
there, and the
yes,
chocolate
yeah.
and the yeast.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah, and when you put the word chocolate and raspberry in a beer, people are going to expect it.
Only
Yeah.
one
Oh, yeah.
man would dare give me the raspberry.
Now, the good thing about this is that this is pretty much Chris Trogner's favorite style of beer. He's been wanting Tröegs to brew this beer for years. Every time we put a Belgian brown on, he leaves the office just a little early and goes downstairs and has one before he heads home. Yeah, it's his favorite beer
Smart
style.
man.
They
Wedding
first
beer.
brewed the first Belgian brown ale for his wedding, and then
Oh,
they
the
started
wedding beer.
doing it as an anniversary beer for like the last 2 years, and then that's kind of how the impetus of maybe we should make Jovial this beer, and that's kind of how it morphed from the stout into the double.
The double.
Yeah.
And also, these both Le Grave and Jovial, which are packaged in the 375 milliliter bottles, corked and caged, are all bottle conditioned. I also think there might be future plans for these, whereas these might be a base beer and
Oh, okay.
venture into maybe wild sour beers, maybe barrel-aged beers, maybe incorporate some interesting other things in there. So,
Yeah.
it's, beers, like, especially in homebrewing, it's really you have to try to only change one thing. If you change 3 things, 4 things, you don't know what impact those changes necessarily made. So when you start off with a very awesome base beer like this, and then you can maybe just sour it, and then you can see where that goes, and So, yeah, definitely look for these are going to be year-round, but also probably evolving seasonally.
I guess we're just going to have to come back and taste the barrel-aged and barrel-soured versions of these beers.
Darn.
I think we could drop a hint on one of them that's going to be coming out relatively
Do it, marketing
soon.
manager.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. So
Breaking news.
we're gonna eventually do a barrel aged version of Le Grave with Brett added.
Exciting.
Called Nebulous.
Nebulous. Very nice.
So it's basically going to be similar to our Splinter Gold that we had put out twice. For those of you who aren't in the know, our Splinter series is a very, very limited barrel-aged series that we have here. We've only done about 5 different Splinter beers.
And you
in
can
the last
only
several
drink
years.
them here, right?
You can only get
They're
them here.
bottled, but
Well,
to go and
You can
on-site
get them to go?
consumption. Yep.
Splinter Brown, which was the last one that we did, which is basically how this would taste if it's sour. That was
And oak.
due to some carbonation issues.
It's a little overcarbonated. We're worried
Yeah.
about flying corks into people's eyes,
Yeah.
kitchens, things. So we wanted to have the bar staff that's a little bit trained and,
Right.
and aware of the situation being overcarbonated, open up in a nice, safe manner.
We put that out right before our cork and cage line was installed, so it was still done old school here. Didn't have as much, I guess, cork integrity, as it were. So yeah, but yeah, we've only done a handful of the Splinter beers in the last couple of years.
When they're sold to go, though, they basically sell out in 1 to 3 days. And
Wow.
we do a 2-bottle limit per person to try to spread the love a little bit.
yeah, we got a hold of some of the
We did.
Troganator that was
Oh,
barrel
the
aged.
barrel
Tröeg.
aged Tröeg.
That was
Yeah.
that was released
Bourbon
when
barrel.
we were recording at Snitz Creek.
That's right.
Because
That's
we
right.
sent Rich.
While we were recording
here.
the episode, we sent
Rich
Rich
came
to
here
come here
and got
grab
us
it.
bottles of the barrel aged Troganator.
And you got. Did you
I
get?
still have mine.
I was gonna say
I'm saving
you
mine.
only got.
You
we
drank
each got
yours.
one because there was a
He could
2-bottle
only buy
limit,
2,
and
so
we sent him right.
you got
so
one
we each
and I got one.
drank mine. You saved yours.
Do you think it's good yet, or should I still let it sit?
Oh, it's good.
You think?
Yeah.
His was a little hot.
The
mine was a little hot.
750s
But you
were
opened
hot.
it like
I like the next day.
When
The
we
next day.
put it out as a scratch beer on draft the first year, oh my god, it was so awesome.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
One
I'm
thing,
thinking it's Christmas. I'll save
There
it
you
for
go.
Christmas,
And then we'll
We
all
can
share
have
it, Dan. Then
Okay.
you won't be left out.
Thanks.
one thing I'll suggest for that beer is definitely think about your food pairing.
Yeah.
Chef for that week when it was available at the tasting room, made his own version of ice cream sandwich, homemade vanilla ice cream, focaccia bread with these cinnamon and sugar pieces on top.
Man, your ears perked up.
I haven't eaten a single thing
Oh,
all
you
day.
still didn't get your pretzel.
You
You,
didn't
were going to
eat?
go get a pretzel.
I had a
Oh.
cup of coffee before coming here. And
You got to get a pretzel.
Homemade.
ice cream.
Ice
Ice cream
Yeah.
sandwich.
Yes.
So basically,
I put somebody some pretzel, and we were like, "What?"
the
Lured away by cars.
the hotness or the little bit higher alcohol content and flavor that beer has really is cut from the vanilla ice cream and sugar and spices. So definitely try.
So we'll save it for dessert.
There
and
you
ice
go.
cream.
Before or after we do shots of
And
Jaeger?
not vegan ice cream.
I was just going to say that. No vegan ice cream.
You can, I don't care what you eat, but we're eating real ice cream.
Whatever.
Give me all the cream.
I make
no, no.
I make some good beer ice cream too. Actually,
Nice.
You might have to
That's
edit
what
that out.
she said.
All right, so what do we have up next?
161.
160. This is the latest scratch.
yeah, it's the fresh hop. It is 8.1%, 79 IBUs. We're actually doing 2 fresh hop beers this year. We got a little sneak peek of the one that's still in the fermentation tank.
That was
Yes.
so good.
For our listeners, Mike let us taste green beer. That's beer that's not completely ready to drink. It's not carbonated. It has not been filtered. But holy crap, it was good.
It
That
didn't-
was with Mosaic
Mosaic
hops.
hops from Yakima Valley.
Oh my gosh, the aroma, the flavors. So
And it was in the middle
Yeah.
of our tour. At the tour, just kind of stopped for a minute. We're like,
Yep.
oh, wow.
it was really, really good.
I think Mike's going to have to take a little trip over to the fermentation tank. I still have not had that yet.
And bring
It's
some
so
back.
good.
I'm like waiting with bated
Oh,
breath.
we've had
Really
something
good.
you haven't.
That's right. Yeah, look at that.
Ooh.
So whichever scratch beer that ends up being, if you see it has Mosaic hops in it,
Get on it.
get
That's
here
the
and
one.
have it because it
Yeah.
was delicious.
And also, if you want to try to get a chance of that for the public, this week the tours will probably be tasting it now. Actually, now to say that, you guys are probably going to post this later. So.
Actually, yeah, this is
False
I think
hope.
the 24th. Is going to come
But
out.
is that something you usually do? You let visitors taste some green beer?
No,
while
for
they're on the
tours. For
Every tour,
part of the
yeah.
On the
tour,
tour- on
we
the tour,
drink
yeah.
green beer, and we
Yay.
try to really mix it up, not just like always perpetual, always, so we tried doing a lot of scratch beers. I know off the top of my head, a really exciting one was Impending Descent, where it's like only like one or two people like start like jumping up and down, like super excited. Everyone's like, well, what the, they
That
just
beer
said
is
no.
amazing.
But I've done a lot of brewery
Amazing.
tours across the country, and I've never been on one that does that.
Harpoon
does it? Yeah.
I have been on many, many tours, and Harpoon is the only other tour I've ever been on.
It's
where
my
I
favorite.
tasted
It's
green
my
beer.
favorite part of the tour.
We got to do
without
that.
a doubt.
At it
So
wasn't. I
special.
mean, not that they don't really do
Snitz
tours.
Creek
But
did it
Snitz
for
Creek
us.
did
it while
He
we
was
were
like,
recorded
let's
it.
taste this
He's
one.
like,
this
oh, I'm
one,
gonna,
they were
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that was pretty awesome. But
And
yeah,
that bologna burger.
it's a really great experience. Hey, we were there earlier today.
I know. I wasn't.
You weren't there.
Shout out to our friends at Snitz. They're
Nice,
awesome. We had a
Snitz.
great dinner there before we came.
Oh yeah,
Good
love
people.
the guys at Snitz Creek.
I still just want a pretzel.
Dude, their food is really
We got two
good.
of them coming.
Yay!
Really?
Oh my God. Okay, for our listeners
Rock and
that
roll.
have never been here, when you come here for the first time, you need to get the giant German pretzel.
Greatest
It is
pretzel
Straight
ever.
from
amazing.
I'm a
Amazing.
pretzel.
Connoisseur?
I don't know about connoisseur. I would just
Nerd. I'm a pretzel
Pretzel
nerd.
say nerd.
geek.
Yeah,
Pretzel geek.
nerd. Yeah.
I've had them from the markets in Munich with my big Moss of Munich beer, and this is as close as it gets.
We import
So
the
good.
raw dough from Bavaria.
Yep, and
and
that's
then
why
we
it's so amazing.
we finish them off with toasted barley from the brewery, and then
Delicious.
sea salt. Yeah, and it's, boom.
So
It's
good.
awesome.
Then also a mustard
dipping.
and cheese dipping
Yeah.
on the side, all house made. Chef won Best Chef of Baltimore several years ago. Everything's homemade. I know the brisket is sous vide, I think, for 24 hours.
Yeah, we can't.
So
we can't.
tender.
We can't go through this podcast without giving props to our snack bar, which is like the most underrated name for
Yeah, it's
food.
not a
And
snack
it's,
bar.
it's like when you think of a snack bar, it's
You
like
think
you
like
think of like
chips and
going up
candy bars.
going up in school cafeteria and just like
Hot dogs
give me
at the
some
most.
buttered noodles.
But the,
You know?
the pretzel
Oh,
is
no,
perfect.
meatloaf.
If you want to get a sampler here,
Yeah.
get a pretzel because it's a great way to cleanse your palate
Absolutely.
between beers. It keeps you from getting intoxicated.
Right.
It's perfect.
It is. It's.
You guys used to have like veggie tacos here, and I need to talk to your chef about bringing them back.
No, you don't.
Yes, they were so good. They
I-
may have been a fall
get down
thing
with
though,
some
because
veggie
I think
tacos.
they had like
They probably had
pumpkin
bacon on
seeds
them,
No, they didn't.
Our chef
We
loves
had
bacon.
I
I
heat
love
tuna
your chef,
tacos.
then.
We had black bean taco.
Black bean
That's
tacos.
what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
yeah, those
they were
are
very
They
good.
were so good, but then they were gone.
Well, we do 4 seasonal menus to keep things fresh, rotating the fresh ingredients, so maybe they will come back.
I need to watch.
We're
they
just getting
were
ready.
Whatever
amazing.
But there's always some vegetarian, gluten-free options on the menu.
I can get down with gluten free.
Yeah, we're getting ready to roll out a new menu on the 13th. Is that a Monday? October 13th, I think.
It can be if you
Yeah.
want it to be.
Yes, that is a
Fall
Monday.
menu.
That will be the same release date of Mad Elf and Bottle, so that should be an
Yeah.
exciting day.
It's gonna be a
There you
big
go.
day.
Oh, speaking of Mad Elf, another callback. If you are ever going to try to do food pairings, do it
Oh, here
with
we go.
Hershey Special Dark.
Yes.
Mad
amazing.
Elf and Hershey's
Have
Special.
you had it? Oh my god!
I've heard it on your podcast. So
There you
Oh,
go.
my
That's
God.
awesome.
We tell people about that all the time.
it makes
up
a
a lot.
lot of
Mad
sense.
Elf and Hershey's Dark. You need to do it. It's
so
amazing.
good. So good.
It explodes in your
Yeah,
mouth.
I was.
Can we talk about this?
Yeah, I was
beer
gonna say
Yeah.
back to 161.
Yes.
So this is the first of 2 fresh hops we're doing this season. This was made with whole flower wet. What is it? Cascade and Chinook
Chinook.
hops. Yeah,
Yep.
from Black Locust Farm in northern Baltimore County in Maryland.
450 pounds of the
Wow.
fresh wet
Wow.
hops.
So I actually was here when they brought them in, and we were just in the middle of brewing the beer, and they literally brought them in the front door, and sorry about that, and asked for volunteers to carry the bags up. They were in like Home Depot bags.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I carried a couple
Okay.
of the bags up, and we just like as soon as they got up there, dumped them right in, and it
Amazing.
was like ready to roll. Yeah, right in
And
the hop
local
pack.
PA honey.
Yeah, so when we make this beer, I think we kind of really or we make a fresh hop every year. This year we'll make 2, but we usually keep the malt profile pretty simple. It's just Pilsner and some wheat malt. And then we also, I'm assuming they use honey every year because, we're right in the middle of brewing Mad Elf season.
Yep.
We use Tom, the Happy Beekeepers, Local honey, I believe he's out of Carlisle.
Yeah, we saw the buckets and buckets
Nice.
and buckets. on our
60
door.
I didn't know
pound
that.
buckets. Yeah.
Which,
I
by
just
the
knew
way-
it was local PA honey.
The one thing I remember from those buckets is his last name is Jones. Tom Jones.
And we
Tom
actually
Jones.
we actually even sell
unusual.
Yep. That's exactly who
by
I went.
anyone. Anyway.
And I started doing the Carlton dance.
we actually sell
Carlton.
the kind of the honey product also in the general store. It goes really well
right.
with the smoky, not mayonnaise, horseradish sauce from Torchbearers, another local company. A little bit of honey, a little bit of brown mustard, and some hard pretzels is to die for.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And if you really like the honey and Mad Elf, we also have soap out in the general store.
Nice.
A beer soap, yeah. You can
I
get,
have-
you can get
I have-
Mad Elf soap during
I
the
have
season.
Dogfish Head 60-minute soap at home.
Oh, that's right.
Actually, the Perpetual IPA soap is awesome.
Really?
Yeah. I use that. That's my after gym soap.
Really?
For
I
my
don't. I
second
haven't
shower,
used it. It's
yeah,
just like
yeah.
a display. It's just like one display. But I've never.
Java
You
Head
can always
smells,
buy another one.
It smells really good.
It's good stuff.
And you can buy the Java Head coffee here, too.
You can. It's
Oh,
very
I
good.
missed that.
You know, we used to serve it in the tasting room. We used to have
I didn't know
French
that.
press coffee, and everyone
Ooh.
stole the carafes.
Oh,
Yeah, so
come
we stopped.
on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Boo.
That's
Yeah.
a shame.
I was like, we should bring it back, but charge people like a $20
Deposit.
Or
for the,
Keep your
yeah.
license.
Pour it and
Yeah.
keep the craft behind the bar
Yeah.
and just let them have the glass.
Yeah. The sidebar on that too. The one time we were here, just before I worked here, my friend ordered the French press coffee, but with no water, and ordered a Troeganator. Put the Troeganator in it,
Oh!
and did that. Unbelievable!
Wow, that sounds
There's
Unbelievable.
a
I was
thinker.
like,
Awesome.
we
That
have to
sounds
do
really
this.
good, yeah.
It was so good.
I love me some Troeganator too.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
gotta
love
be
some
good.
coffee beer, so
Yeah.
perfect.
It was a really good match. Yeah. I was like, wow.
This is a delicious beer.
This really
This
is.
really nice.
And
Yeah.
I can't believe it's 7.9, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
That is surprising. In fact, I didn't look at that until
I
you
think
said
it's
that.
actually 8.1.
Yeah, it's 79 IBUs.
79 IBUs. That's a
Might have
little,
got those.
Oh,
that's
it's
a
a
little
typo.
little typo there. Yeah.
Little misinformation.
yeah, it happens.
It's very, yeah, and of course, the local honey's going to add more fermentable sugars. It's
Right.
also almost 100% fermentable, so it's going to dry it out, which
Mm-hmm.
also helps the hops shine a little bit.
I say it really like the really simple malt bill allows the hops to, but it's not
It's a
like
blank canvas.
It's not punch you in your face, super bitter dank hops. Like it just really brings out
It's more. We
the
focus
subtle qualities of the
when we
hops.
make a hoppy beer. I think just across the board, we don't focus on the bitterness. We focus more on the flavor and the aroma, which is where an IPA is. Like if I get an IPA in the glass and it doesn't smell really good, you've already lost me.
Yeah.
It's
I
also
totally agree.
it's your first impression. So first impression is a very lasting impression. Of course, you're going to look at a beer and determine the color and the filtration, but when you bring it up to your nose, that's really going to define what you think of that beer. And also, I've read some studies when you're tasting something, you're actually maybe even more than 50% of what you're tasting is coming from what you're picking up in your nose. So
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I heard it's like 90%.
Well,
Yeah.
they call it,
Yeah.
and it's what retro nasal.
Yep.
Where if you smell when you smell like inhaling through your nose, but then when you taste, you're actually tasting from the back of your nose, from like the inside out. Yeah.
So of
think, like,
course,
yeah.
when people say they're sick and they can't smell anything, they can't taste anything.
Yeah.
There's an obvious correlation there. So it's always we always recommend pouring the beer into the glass so you can see it, you can smell it, things like that.
And I think aromas evoke like memories
Oh yeah,
as
It is
well.
the
Like
Fruity Pebbles.
it's the strongest
Yeah.
sense
yeah, exactly.
Fruity Pebbles.
tied to memory.
So like when you have a beer that like smells really awesome.
That
it
sounded
just, like, sticks
exactly.
in your
I'm sorry.
memory.
That sounded exactly the same. You just said Fruity Pebbles like live right here now, and Dan just played the Fruity Pebbles sound clip,
Fruity Pebbles.
and it sounded exactly the same.
Wait for it.
Oh, that was weak sauce.
weak.
here,
we
this
can
was
try
packaged
opening the other one.
so
Go get
recently,
another
it might
bottle.
actually still be working
Yeah.
on the carbonation. To be honest,
Yeah.
now we do kind of I don't want to say over carbonate these, but they're very effervescent.
Good word.
Yeah.
Effervescent.
Effervescent.
Here we got a couple of these. I think we have 3 of them though. Chef gave me one before I came over. So we have extra.
Ready?
I think we might have to. Oh, that was better.
That's a good one.
Yeah, more mic response.
Yeah, I have to say this doesn't look as carbonated as the Jovial, just right off the bat.
Yeah, well, it's not bottle conditioned
No,
like the
yeah.
others.
It isn't.
No, it's not.
Oh, really? Oh,
No.
okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you can't tell from the music, we are about to try Master of Pumpkin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out, it's hasn't been released yet. It'll be coming out on Monday.
That oh yeah doesn't really match the music.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. See,
There
that
you go.
works.
That was a lot better. I'm sorry. I'm fired.
And now in
Like
the
a Randy
internet
Macho
world,
Man Savage.
yeah. Oh, Macho Man rings.
And when he says coming out on Monday, he means 2.5 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
However, at the
So you
time,
Go out and buy it.
at
So
the
you
time
edit
of
out all my
recording,
bullshit.
We are at the time of recording. We are getting an early taste.
Yeah.
Of Master of Pumpkins. Was that better? That wasn't real metal.
No.
That was kind of like Fraggle Rock.
Fraggle Rock.
Yeah.
So this is actually the third year we're putting it out. Of course, like many of our beers, it started off as a scratch beer, just called Pumpkin Ale, about 2 years ago. Then last year we put it out in 750 milliliter bottles. And this year we are putting it out in 4-packs of 375s for the first time. It's just a pumpkin ale brewed with local Pennsylvania neck pumpkins.
Stripes Orchard.
That are harvested just a couple miles from the brewery here at Stripes Orchard in Harrisburg. And neck pumpkins, a lot of people, when they see the pictures, they think that it's butternut squash, but it's kind of like a Pennsylvania Dutch, kind of indigenous to central Pennsylvania.
Sweet pumpkin. It's often used for pies for the sweetness.
Right. Yeah. A lot of Amish bakers make pies out of neck pumpkins, so they look like gigantic butternut squash.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we harvest the pumpkins, and we actually tracked a lot of the progress from this year's batch. Back from May, Chris and John actually went to Stripes Orchard and rode on the tractor and actually planted the seeds. They dedicated a 1/4 acre plot to us, and we
That's
had our
awesome.
own pumpkin
That's really
patch
cool.
there.
That's cool.
So we went out there and did that, and then we tracked the first saplings that we got. We tracked the progress of the pumpkins. Then we harvested them, brought them here, and they were roasted in-house by our snack bar staff, and then added to the mash. And we have the finished beer here.
And I think
added some pie spices. And
I think one thing that sets us apart too, especially some of these pumpkin beers that came out in July.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Question mark.
So, I can only imagine what they are using for the pumpkin. So we wanted to keep it fresh, keep it local.
Absolutely.
Actually, John was resisting, which is, co-owner and brewmaster, was resisting a pumpkin beer forever, basically.
Yeah.
Until 3 years ago, I guess.
They want to get on the pumpkin train.
They also said they wouldn't make an IPA. That's why Perpetual is really an Imperial Pale Ale.
Right.
He's starting to fold a little bit, I guess.
Never can.
In his old age.
cans are for soup. That's
Yeah.
what John said.
I remember that, yes.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, I mean, and also some more modern
changed.
technology has
Uh-oh.
come out. The cans are lined now and everything.
Here it
Pretzels
comes.
have walked through the door.
Yes.
Pretzels have walked through the door. Wow.
Look at the pretzels.
Woohoo!
One thing that's noteworthy
so
about
pretty.
one thing that's noteworthy about this beer is that we did a really, really funny video 2 years ago when we put this beer out for the first time about kind of how Tröegs brewers came up with this idea of, hey, let's make a pumpkin beer, and they thought it was like their idea, and then John was like, guys, breweries have been doing pumpkin beers for years.
It's a fermentable.
Yeah. And it has, but it's kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, funny video, and it kind of has a couple little quotes from the great Pumpkin Charlie Brown in there. It's a really cool video. It was one of the first video projects that I worked on when I came on board, and it's really cool. You just check it out.
I'm
There
sorry.
it be.
I'm sorry, pretzel.
Wait a moment as we eat the pretzel.
We got to do the pretzel. I like the big fat piece.
Another thing that really sets our Masters of Pumpkin apart from a lot of other pumpkin beers.
Just wait for it.
Nice.
You're welcome.
So
I just needed somebody else to say the name. Sorry.
So one thing that really separates our pumpkin beer, Masters of Pumpkins, from a lot of other ones is the yeast that we use, actually. It's a French Saison yeast. It ferments the beer very aggressively, very going to really take the final gravity down really low, so it's going to dry out the beer a bit, which is also going to let the spices shine a little bit. And there's a little bit of spice in that yeast also. So when we're going to be using the cinnamon and the nutmeg and the clove and things like that, the yeast is going to help let that pop a little bit. Also, the malt bill on this is pretty simple. It's Munich and Pilsner and Special B. Special B is like the darkest Belgian caramel malt, so that's going to add a little bit of the sweetness to it. And I also want to stress, pumpkin is not a very aggressive flavor. The question I always tell people, ask people is, what does pumpkin taste like? And, the first thing you think of is pumpkin pie. You're thinking of the spices. But just the plain squash by itself is very, very simple. So what that really brings into play for this beer is more color and body. It's going to really kind of thicken the body and give it some of that orange color. And that's why they're going to be mashing it. And also maybe a little bit of fermentable sugar also. So that's some fun things about our Masters of Pumpkin beer. 7.5% too, so it's getting to be a big boy. It's a little bit up there.
I like that it really features the pumpkin spice very well,
not
without
overpowering,
being thick and syrupy, and
yeah. One thing, using spices in beers you have to use them very, very sparingly.
Yeah.
It's just, you can really overspice a beer, especially with clove. Clove can be just a dominator. I actually kind of steer away from clove in my pumpkin beers. It's usually a love-or-hate kind of relationship.
It's going to be a really tough choice, but what are the favorites?
I think I have mine chosen.
What is yours then?
Mine is the Dead Reckoning. All the beers were absolutely fabulous. I really enjoyed the scratch. The 161, the fresh hop, was really awesome, and the pumpkin, which was the last one we did, was really good. But I think Dead Reckoning, which I had never had before, was the most interesting. And yet, like, a lot of times you get beers that are really complex, but you can only drink a little bit of them. I think that's a beer that's really complex, but you could have a pint, like 2 or 3 pints of on a good night. Yeah.
Now, I have had the Dead Reckoning before, and when I saw it was on the available in the pub now list, I made sure I sent Jeff an email saying, we really like the taste Dead Reckoning because I love it. It's a phenomenal beer. I'm glad that it's still going to be around. But the Saison was really good too. I'm still thinking about the Mosaic beer that was in the tank, though, too. I am super excited for when that's officially on tap. That was
Newman.
Newman. It was really good, but Dead Reckoning will always be one of my favorites.
Nice.
I think for me, I'd have to say the pretzel.
Specifically that cheese sauce.
I don't have to take that as a compliment or an insult.
Good call.
#pretzel.
But gun to your head.
Gun to my head.
One of the beers.
For the beers, I would have to say probably...
It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
They're all very
It
good.
is really hard.
It's Tröegs. They make great beer.
Yeah, they do. Let's go with... I'm going to say Jovial.
All right, good.
So
Good call.
It's a very
amazing beer. I am super excited to see the future of that beer too.
Yeah, it's a really nice
Souring,
base.
barrel
aging.
Super great beer.
So,
Sophie's choice. Gentlemen, what are your favorites?
The people who work here, what are your favorite beers?
I'm going to have to go with... Man. I gotta go with Dead Reckoning.
There you go.
All right. It's always been one of my favorites.
Gateway beer, gateway hoppy beer for you, right?
Yeah, dark beer, too. Like, I remember having it the first time when it wasn't even a seasonal. I remember. I remember exactly. I remember when I had it the first time. It was over at Coakley's in New Cumberland. I saw the tap handle. It was one. It was just like the Compass, and it was like a old school Tröegs tap handle. My band was playing there, and I saw it, and I was like, I'm going to try that. And I just was blown away. I've never tasted anything like that before. And it's just always been one of my favorites. I look forward to it every year it comes out. And, it's still a go-to.
Awesome. I think my favorite is also going to be Jovial.
All right.
Yes.
Ah, there you go.
And, I'm actually not the biggest Belgian beer fan. believe it or not. And that one really surprised me. I think the Abbey malt in there, which is kind of like the Belgian honey malt, which is going to add the sweetness, and just the right amount of chocolate malt for color, roastiness, and flavor, just makes it a really, really drinkable double. And I think it surprised me the most. Now, I don't know if we're counting the fresh hop too off the tank. That was...
Yeah, just rub it in.
That was a little...
We were there.
Dirt in the wound.
Well, it's not like you don't work here and can just walk over and take a sip later on.
Well, I don't know how to tap it.
You just zwickle, turn, pour, spray it. You're good.
Way too complicated.
Way too complicated for me.
I'll go
Lefty
for you.
loosey, righty tighty.
I know how to set up and tear down a drum set. That's it.
Wait, honestly, that's more complicated.
It is.
Well, yeah, but I've been doing it for 30 years.
Just as luck he won't close it right, and then they'll come in tomorrow morning and it'll be dripping from the zwickle.
Yeah, there's no fresh hop this
thing's
year.
empty.
It's all on the floor.
Damn you, Jeff!
Gone. But if that were to happen, we could say, we did try it. We were
That's
there.
true.
We had the beer that nobody else got to try
Yep,
because
it all
Jeff
dripped
ruined
onto
it.
the floor.
There'd be, 4 Beer Advocate reviews?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
I
about
was gonna say,
it.
I'll go
Yeah,
for-
the 4 of us.
I'll go fill a growler of that. Right now.
Nice.
So if you want to learn more about Tröegs or visit them, please check out Tröegs.com, or you can find them on Facebook, Tröegs Brewing Co.
Let's spell it.
Troegs.
Thank you.
There is an
Brewing Co.
umlaut, but
I
you
was
don't
going to
need
say,
it.
do we need
Umlaut is
Umlaut.
optional.
The umlaut is
Umlaut
optional.
over the O. Twitter at Tröegs Beer. So please check them out.
Absolutely. And if
beer.
you live anywhere close to us, you know Tröegs, and you
Yeah.
love Tröegs, obviously. But if you live further away, please check them out.
And you can also sign up for a tour online, and if the tours are full, we have a self-guided tour area.
And if you're here on a Sunday, look for Mike.
Yes, you have a 50% chance of getting me.
Man.
And if you contact us through social media, it's probably me getting back to you.
Well, there you go. I'm going to make sure to tweet Tröegs all the time. So that unfortunately brings us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters Podcast. And it was somebody by the name of Francois Rabelais who said, "When I drink, I think, and when I think, I drink." I'd like to thank Mike and Jeff for joining us and inviting us out here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us here. It was great.
Can't imagine what I'd rather do on a Friday night.
Definitely.
Drink and talk.
Well,
In the barrel room.
With pretzels.
yes, with pretzels. Get the pretzel. For the love of God, if you come here, get the damn pretzel.
It was very good.
So,
Bring back the black bean taco.
By the
Mike-
way, we're discontinuing the pretzel as of tomorrow.
no! God.
It is still...
Hashtag sucks to be you.
He's lying. It's okay.
Oh, man. See, I got to start the music
I'm
over
just
again now.
joking.
Okay, so now that I had to
pretzel
start the music
always
again.
be
You need a record scratch.
What? No.
The pretzel is perpetual.
Oh, I like that.
Ooh, there you go.
Well,
That should be the snack bar motto.
that's a good idea.
I'll get on that.
Anyway,
Longest outro ever.
No, Shawnee takes that.
That's true.
Oh, I forgot
That
about
was, yeah.
Oh,
Anyway.
we got to beat
hold
that.
on.
Wait,
Oh.
look at that.
What
that.
is...
Challenge accepted.
You give me a time, we'll double it.
Oh, my God.
You're going to restart the music 17 times.
Yeah,
That's
probably. I'm debating, do I just go? Or I got to let it finish now because I don't have enough time to go through it all. So I'm just going to vamp and hope that the music stops really soon so I can just hit the button and start the damn thing
Hit the
over again.
post.
And
There it
3,
is.
2, 1, and go.
Tröegs Beer.
Now this is coming close to what Shawnee had us do.
Unfortunately, my friends,
Unfortunately, my friend,
Man,
that does in fact.
All good things come to an end.
this is true.
I wish I could go this long in the sack.
Oh, snap. I feel bad for...
There's the hashtag for the episode.
You could edit that out, please.
That'll probably stand.
We've been through a lot. And I am Dan Baker, as always, joined by my co-host and barologist.
Hold on, I'm still writing the hashtag.
That's your name now, and our
Steph
entertainer.
Hefner.
Way bigger.
Until next time, my friends, enjoy some Tröegs. Make sure you come get a pretzel, and we bid you adieu.
I got nothing.